if I'm considering, hey, you know what, I have some money and I'm tired of my rat race and I really want to, like, the easiest way I can see is franchising. Now,
Right.
how should I be sure that if this is the way, and like, what should be some of my first steps and like, things like that?
Well, it's a really good question that people should ask themselves if they're going to start any business, not only a franchise business, but we'll address ourselves to franchises as well. So the first thing is, and I talk about this in my book, you have to figure out whether you're running from something or running toward something. If you're running away from something, like I'm very bored with my job, I lost my job and it's too painful to look.
Yeah.
So I have some money saved. I'll go buy myself a job. I'll buy a franchise. And a lot of people in a fairly knee-jerk reaction will do that. And in my book, I talk about a kind of an archetypal franchisee who's kind of bored, and one day she's looking through the paper, she sees some advertisements for a franchise, and she starts Googling, and then she gets a call at her office, and it's from a franchise and with no risk to this person, she starts to evaluate different franchises, and then she gets interested in a couple of them, gets really pulled into it, and before you know it, she buys a franchise, and goodbye all that, goodbye to corporate America. And you know what? Sometimes it's great, but what I tell people in my book is there are a couple of things to figure out. Are you running away from something or running toward a vision that is well defined? And how do you know? And there are a number of things. For example, I really recommend that if people think they want to start a business, and this is true whether franchised or not, they should go through, I think, 4 seasons of wanting to do that. Go through a year of really having a desire and going through the stages of planning. Why a year? Like, that seems like a really long time. In the scheme of things, it's not. But if you have this idea of, I really want to go out on my own, well, maybe, it's just that it's winter and it's dark out and it's cold and you're depressed and you have seasonal affective disorder, and you come the spring, you'll think, oh, this was just a passing thing. I feel great.
Let's just go golf.
Yeah, let's go play golf. Everything's good. Or you're just in a state where you can't find a job, but maybe you'd rather have a job. Maybe all things equal, you'd rather have a great job, and you just don't know the right way to look for a job. Well, it's much easier to find a job than it is to start a business.
That's true.
So there's that. Then there are things like, do you have, I call it in my book, a stash. Do you have a stash of all the stuff that you need in order to be successful in business on your own? The most obvious one is money. And, it's a funny thing. You talk to a lot of franchisors, the people who sell franchises, and they'll say, well, you should have at least like 6 months of working capital in the bank to kind of get you through the hump, and so you start generating cash flow. I'm like thinking, that's ridiculous. To me, you need to have 5 years of capital saved or accessible to you to start any business. I think you're nuts if you don't have 5 years, and that seems ridiculous, but it isn't, because more businesses go out of business because they run out of money than any other reason. And not just because the business owner wasn't really smart. Things happen. People get sick. I got sick early in my business, and I was sidelined for about 6 months. And had I not had the reserves to get me through that, I just would have gone out of business. That was it. Because early on, when you start a business, it's all about you. You just don't get to say, well, I'm going to hire all my minions, right at the get-go. So you need reserves of cash. You need reserves of support. For example, family support. A lot of people I know, in my franchise and others, didn't have the support of their spouses, or they had very tepid support. It would be like, well, if that's what you want to do, okay, I guess you deserve to do what you want to do. And then you're going to put so much stress on that other person and on your kids if you have kids. I'm like, when I did it, I just came home one day and I had a really good job. You can read in my book about, how good my jobs were on paper anyway. I didn't like them particularly, but we had a really nice lifestyle and, we went to Club Med every year. And one day, and I was miserable. And one day I came home and said to the kids, we're going into the smoothie business. We're going to wear Hawaiian shirts and make smoothies. Okay. And they were shocked out of their minds. And I came home and basically I just dumped this on everybody. That's not the right way to do it. So, you need family support. You need role models. You need to have people who you can look to in your past, or around you who really are models of success where you can adopt their behaviors. You also need to look in your own storehouse of what have you done in your life that is entrepreneurial. I don't care if it was selling cookies at a bake sale or how far back you have to go, but if you can't reach back and say, I have some internal something I can draw on where if I've done this before, I've sold, I have entrepreneurial success somewhere, where does it come from? It doesn't come from the sky. It's got to be innate. So these are a few of the questions, and I have tests and kind of self-diagnostics in my book that people can try out on their own. These are some of the things you need to think about.
Great. Now,